Hello, I'm Johann Vanderbijl. My wife Louise and I serve in the province of North Holland in the Netherlands, helping believers become disciple makers who can in turn disciple others. It has often been said that while God created the world, the Dutch created the Netherlands. Well, I don't think that they would take themselves that seriously, but just as the Dutch have been working on physical land reclamation for hundreds of years, so we are working on spiritual land reclamation. Take the Schermer Lake as an example. In the 1600s, it was a large body of water, unusable for farming, unusable for settlement, and in some seasons, downright dangerous. So, what did the Dutch do? Well, between 1633 and 1635, they built 52 windmills, and with those windmills, they drained the lake. The genius of it all was the chain method. Each windmill lifted the water just one stage higher and passed it on to the next and onto the next and onto the next until the water was high enough to let it flow out into the North Sea. Not one mill did everything, not one had to. Each just lifted what it received and passed it on. That is exactly how disciple making works. As Paul said in 2 Timothy 2 verse 2, the things you, Timothy, have heard from me, Paul, entrust to faithful people who will be able to teach others also. Did you hear the chain? Paul entrusted the gospel to Timothy, who entrusted the same gospel to faithful people who would be able to entrust the same gospel to others, and so on. In Ephesians chapter 4 verse 12, Paul outlined the role of pastors, teachers, and leaders. They are meant to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. Not to do all the ministry themselves, but to empower the whole church to do the work they are called to do. This is the windmill chain of the gospel. So what do Louise and I do here in North Holland? Well, we are at best the first windmill. We don't drain the whole lake ourselves. We don't do all the ministry. We simply take the gospel we've received, lift it one level higher, and pass it on. We teach the believers at Christ Church Heiloo. We equip and encourage them to share their faith in their homes, their workplaces, and their neighborhoods. And then they pass it on again and again and again until the spiritual landscape begins to change. Just like with the polder, one mill at a time. Now, the Dutch built those windmills because they wanted to save their land for farming. But we are building disciples because we want to save all people for Jesus. Can you imagine a whole chain of believers all across North Holland, each lifting the gospel just one step higher, one precious soul at a time, each one drawing someone else out of the depths, each one reclaiming more land for God's kingdom? This is how renewal always happens. Ordinary people equipped and empowered doing extraordinary things because God is at work. And that is our calling, to teach, to equip, to train by lifting what we've received and passing it on. But we would not be able to do any of this without your support. Please pray with us that the Lord continues to build a chain of gospel windmills across this beautiful province, so that by His grace, the Netherlands can once again become land reclaimed for Him.